Elena believed she was alone. The mansion was empty. The boss had gone out. It was the perfect moment to count the money. $40,000 that had cost months of sacrifice. But she didn't know that Ricardo had come back early. Hiding by the office door, he saw everything, the cleaner with a huge wad of cash. In her hands, right next to the cabinet where he kept his own money. And what did he decide to do in that moment? He changed everything, but not in the way you imagine. The alarm went off at 4 a.m. Elena opened her eyes in the dark and turned off the alarm before it woke her son. Her body ached, her back had been throbbing since the night before, but there was no time to complain. She got up slowly, stepped onto the cold floor of the tiny room, and went to the bathroom. She washed her face with ice-cold water. She looked in the mirror, 27 years old, but she looked 40. At 4:30, she entered her mother's room. Mrs. Carmen was sleeping with her mouth open, breathing with difficulty. Elena changed the geriatric diaper with care, cleaned the wounds that wouldn't heal, and applied the ointment. Her mother moaned softly but didn't wake up. Elena kissed her forehead and whispered, "I'm going to make it, Mom, I promise." At 5 o'clock sharp, she woke her son. Mateo rubbed his little eyes and asked if he could skip school. "Not today, my love. Mrs. Teresa is already waiting for you." She dressed the boy, gave him a glass of milk with bread, grabbed his backpack, and walked down the building's stairs. The neighbor on the second floor opened the door in her bathrobe. "Leave him with me. You can go, don't worry." Elena thanked her and ran out. The 5:30 bus was packed. Elena stood, squeezed between a man who smelled of cigarettes and a woman with grocery bags. 40 minutes later, she got off, in the noble neighborhood. She walked another 15 minutes to the mansion gate. 6:30 sharp, always on time. The house was immense. 3 floors, a pool, a garden with a stone fountain, a garage for 5 cars. Elena entered through the back door, as always. She greeted Rosa, the cook, who was already preparing breakfast. "Good morning, Rosa," the older woman replied with a tired wave. Elena put on her apron, tied back her hair, and grabbed the cleaning products. She started with the living room, mopped the marble floor, cleaned the glass on the shelves, dusted the expensive paintings. She worked, in silence with quick and precise movements. Almost a year there, and she knew exactly what Ricardo expected. Invisible perfection. At 7:30, Ricardo came down. Gray suit, hair combed, phone in hand. He didn't even look at Elena. He went straight to the breakfast table, sat down, and started eating, while typing on his phone. Elena passed by him carrying the bucket. He didn't lift his eyes. Half an hour later, while Elena was cleaning the hallway, she heard his voice coming from the kitchen. "Hey, Rosa, what kind of coffee is this? It's weak. Didn't I tell you I want it strong?" The cook mumbled an apology. "Apologies don't help. I pay your salary, you do it my way. If you don't like it, the door is right there." Elena stopped. She heard Rosa leave the kitchen with quick steps, holding back tears. The woman passed her without saying anything. Elena squeezed the cloth tightly and continued cleaning. She couldn't get involved. She couldn't risk her job as a cleaner. At 9 o'clock, Ricardo left for work. The house became quieter. Elena cleaned the bedrooms, changed the bed linens, organized the closet. Every movement was automatic. She already knew where everything went. In the middle of the afternoon, while mopping the stairs, she heard Ricardo yelling at the gardener over the intercom. "You cut the grass crooked. It looks like a tractor went over it. I'm going to deduct it from your pay if you don't fix it today." Elena lowered her head and continued her work. When the clock struck 5 p.m., she put away the cleaning products, took off her apron, and left. Ricardo was in the office on the phone. He didn't say goodbye. He never said goodbye. Elena took the bus back, stopped by the neighbor's house, picked up Mateo, and walked up the building stairs. The boy told her about class, about the drawing he made, about the classmate who shared a snack. She smiled and asked questions, even though her head was elsewhere. At home, she heated up food, bathed her mother, changed her diaper again, and gave her the medicine. Mrs. Carmen was weaker, coughing a lot. Elena held her hand and promised once more. "I'm going to get the money, Mom. Just a little more. At 7 p.m., Elena went out again. She left Mateo watching television and went to her second job. The restaurant was 6 blocks away. She entered through the back door, put on a plastic apron, and started washing. Dishes, greasy pots, dirty plates, glasses with leftover drinks, hot water, soap, sponge, repeat. At 11:30 p.m., the manager let her go. Elena walked back home, dragging her feet. Mateo was already asleep on the sofa. She carried the boy to his room, covered him with the thin blanket, and kissed his forehead. Then she went to her mother's room. Mrs. Carmen was snoring softly. Elena adjusted the pillow and turned off the light. In her room, she took off her shoes and massaged her swollen feet. She opened the dresser drawer, took the shoebox from under the old clothes, and opened it carefully. Inside, bills of 10, 20, 50, all organized with rubber bands. She counted one more time. $4,200. Almost there. Elena put the box back, lay down on the bed, and closed her eyes. Tomorrow would be another day just like this one, but she wouldn't give up. She couldn't. The week passed in a blur of exhaustion. Elena woke up at 4, slept after midnight. Between one job and another, there was barely enough time to breathe. But she had a goal, and goals do not allow for rest. On Friday, after finishing at Ricardo's mansion, Elena didn't go straight to the restaurant. She took a different bus and got off in the city center. She entered a small bank branch, took a ticket, and waited 40 minutes until she was called. The teller was young, wearing makeup, nails done. She looked at Elena with that professional smile that didn't reach her eyes. "How can I help you?" "I wanted to open an account to save some money," Elena said nervously. "It's a large amount. I'm afraid to leave it at home." "Of course. Did you bring your documents?" Elena took her ID out of her bag. The woman typed the data into the computer, clicked, waited, frowned, and typed again. "Do you have any restrictions on your ID?" "What do you mean?" "It says here there are pending issues. An old unregularized account, expired debt, but it still shows in the system." The teller looked at Elena with a mix of pity and impatience. "You'll need to resolve this first. Without a clean record, I can't open an account." Elena felt the floor disappear. "But I need to store this money safely. Is there no other way?" "Unfortunately not. You need to regularize your status first. Go to the credit bureau. It will take a few days." The woman was already looking at the next customer in line. Elena left the bank with her legs shaking. She tried 2 more branches. The answer was the same. Irregular ID, no account, no security. She went back home holding her bag tightly. Inside, wrapped in an old kitchen towel, was all the money. $40,200. Months of work, sleepless nights, and now she would have to carry it all with her. That night at the restaurant, Elena worked tensely. The bag hung on a hook near the sink, but she looked at it every 5 minutes. The manager noticed, "Is everything okay, Elena? You're acting strange today." "I'm just tired." When she got home, she double-locked the door, hid the money under the mattress, then thought it was unsafe and moved it inside the closet, then back to the shoebox. She didn't sleep well. Every noise on the street made her alert. On Saturday, Elena accepted an extra cleaning job. The house was big, but the pay made it worth it. $300 in cash. She cleaned everything in 5 hours. She received the bills still damp with sweat and put them in the bag with the rest. On Sunday, while her mother slept and Mateo played with old toy cars, Elena sat on the bed and did the math again. She opened the notebook where she wrote everything down. On the first page, the list of expenses. Oncologist Dr. Anna, $780. PT-CT scan, $3,200. Biopsy, $1,100. Pain medication, box, $340. Provisional hospitalization estimate, $12,000. She added it up, subtracted from what she had, still missing $8,000. Almost there, but almost doesn't save anyone. Elena closed the notebook and looked at her mother in the next room. Mrs. Carmen was getting thinner. The cough had gotten worse. The doctors at the public clinic said they couldn't do anything else without the private exams. And the private exams cost more than what Elena earned in 3 months. She wiped her face and took a deep breath. She couldn't give up now. On Monday, Elena returned to Ricardo's mansion. She arrived on time, as always, put on her apron, grabbed the cleaning products, and started work. But something was different. The bag. She couldn't leave it in the changing room with the other employees, not with all that. Money inside. Elena hung the bag on her shoulder and tried to work, but it was hard to clean, scrub, and carry weight while keeping the bag stuck to her body. Rosa noticed. "Why don't you leave that in the closet?" "I prefer to keep it with me." The cook frowned but didn't insist. Mid-morning, Ricardo appeared in the living room. Elena was cleaning the glass shelf. He walked past her as if she were air, went to the office, and slammed the door. Half an hour later, she heard him yelling on the phone. "I don't want excuses, I want results. Do you think I pay to hear that it didn't work?" Elena shook her head and continued working. At 11 o'clock, Ricardo left. The house was empty. The other employees were busy. The gardener outside, the cook at the market. Elena took the opportunity, went to Ricardo's office, a huge room with a dark wooden desk, shelves full of books no one read, and a leather sofa. She locked the door from the inside, took the bag off her shoulder, and placed it on the desk. She opened it, took out the kitchen towel, and there was all the money. Bills of all values organized with rubber bands. Elena took the notebook and started checking. She counted every bill, checked the values, noted what was missing. She was so concentrated that she didn't hear the sound of the car arriving, didn't hear the footsteps on the stairs, didn't notice the door opening. She only heard the voice. "What are you doing?" Elena froze, turned slowly. Ricardo was standing in the doorway in his suit, eyes fixed on her, and beside him on the table, the huge wad of money. Elena felt her blood run cold. Her hands trembled over the notebook. The money was spread on the table, the bills crumpled, the kitchen towel thrown aside, and Ricardo standing there, looking at it all. She tried to speak, but her voice didn't come out. She swallowed hard, tried again. I was just what?" His voice was cold, cutting. He entered the office with firm steps, closed the door behind him, and locked it. His eyes went from the money to Elena, and from Elena to the cabinet, next to it, where he kept his own money. Elena followed his gaze and understood. "No? It's not what you're thinking, is it?" Ricardo approached slowly. "Then explain to me what you were doing in my office with the door locked, counting money on my desk." "It's my money, I saved it." "It's for what?" "For treatment, for medicine." He let out a short laugh, without humor. "How many times have I heard that story?" Elena felt tears burning in her eyes. "Mr. Ricardo, please, let me explain." "No need to explain anything." He took his cell phone out of his pocket. "I know exactly what happened here." "No, look here." Elena grabbed the notebook with shaking hands and opened it to the notes page. "It's all written down. Every cent I saved. Look at the date. Look." Ricardo didn't even look. "Little notebook. Do you think I'm an idiot? Anyone can make a little notebook." "But..." "It's true. I work 2 jobs. I do extra cleaning on the weekend. Where do you keep all that money?" He crossed his arms. $40,000 at home. A cleaner. Do you think I was born yesterday?" Elena opened her mouth, closed it, tried to find the right words, but everything that came out seemed like a lie. "I tried to open a bank account, but my ID is irregular. And of course it is because you must have taken out loans to cover what you stole before. I never stole anything in my life until today." Ricardo pointed to the money on the table. "Did you really think you were going to manage to enter my office, take my money, and I wouldn't notice? But it's not your money. It's mine." Elena was crying now, tears streaming down her face. "I saved it cent by cent. I worked day and night. It's for my mother. She's sick. She needs treatment." "Enough." Ricardo raised his hand. "I've heard." "Enough." He threw the door open. "Rosa, Marcos, come here." His voice echoed through the house. Elena stood paralyzed. The cook appeared first, drying her hands on her apron. Then came the gardener, dirty with soil. The two looked at the scene. Elena with her face wet with tears. the money on the table. Ricardo with a hard expression. Do you see this? Ricardo pointed. I trusted. I gave a job, paid on time, treated everyone with respect, and this is how she pays me back. Mr. Ricardo, it wasn't... Silence! He turned to her, pointing his finger. I knew it. There's always one who takes advantage. There's always one who thinks they can fool me. Rosa looked at Elena with pity. The gardener looked away. Elena wanted to scream, wanted to show the notebook, wanted to force them to believe her, but the words died in her throat. Elena, you're fired. Ricardo spoke as if giving a simple order. Take your things and get out right now. Please. Her voice was a whisper. Just look at the notebook. Just read it, please. I said get out. I need this job, my mother. I don't want to hear about your mother. His voice exploded. Get out of my house before I call the police. Elena stumbled back. The shock hit harder than any slap. She looked at the other employees, seeking some support, some word, but they just looked at the floor. With trembling hands, she gathered the money, bills fell. She picked them up from the floor, stuffed everything inside the bag. The notebook stayed on the table. The photo of her mother fell under the chair. Some bills slipped and remained scattered on the floor. I said, get out. Ricardo pointed to the door. Elena ran out, went down the stairs without looking back, passed through the living room, through the kitchen, out the back door. Her legs barely supported her body. Her chest hurt. Her head was spinning. At the gate, she stopped, held onto the iron railing so as not to fall, looked at the mansion, that place where she worked as a cleaner for almost a year, where she was never late, where she never complained, and now she was being expelled like a thief. Elena lowered her head and let the tears fall. She lost her job, lost her dignity, and worse, how was she going to pay for her mother's treatment now? She wiped her face with the back of her hand and started walking. One step, another, heavy legs, broken heart. Inside the mansion, Ricardo returned to the office, looked at the money that had fallen on the floor, gathered the bills with abrupt movements, and threw them onto the table in anger. People like that are hopeless, he muttered to himself. Rosa went back to the kitchen in silence. The gardener went back to the garden, and Elena disappeared down the street, invisible as she always was. Elena walked aimlessly for almost an hour. The streets of the noble neighborhood seemed to mock her. Huge houses, imported cars, automatic gates, everything she would never have, everything she had just lost the chance to sustain. She stopped at an empty bus stop and sat on the concrete bench. She opened the bag, checked the money. It was all there, $4,200. But the notebook was missing, her mother's photo was missing, and the proof that she wasn't a thief was missing. The bus arrived. Elena got on like a robot, sat by the window and watched the city pass by. Buildings, stores, rushing people, everyone with their problems. No one knew about hers. When she got off in her neighborhood, it was already noon. Elena walked up the building's stairs slowly. Each step weighed a ton. She opened the apartment. Door. Mateo was drawing at the kitchen table. The neighbor was sitting on the sofa watching television. Oh, Elena, you're early. I thought you'd only come to pick him up after 5. Mrs. Teresa stood up. Change of plans. Elena forced a smile. Thanks for looking after him. The neighbor took her bag and left. Mateo ran and hugged his mother. Mom, look at the drawing I made. Elena looked. It was a drawing of 3 people, her, him, and Grandma, all smiling. She felt a lump in her throat. It's beautiful, my love. Where is Grandma? She's sleeping. Let's let her rest. Elena heated food for. Mateo sat with him while he ate, but didn't touch her own plate. She couldn't. Her stomach was knotted. Her head throbbed. When Mateo went back to drawing, she went to her mother's room. Mrs. Carmen was awake, looking at the ceiling, eyes sunken, skin yellowish, breathing weak. Mom! Mrs. Carmen turned her head slowly. Elena, are you okay? Yes, Mom. Elena sat on the edge of the bed and held her hand. The hand was cold, fingers thin like twigs. I'm fine. You're crying. Elena wiped her face. It's just tiredness, Mom. Her mother squeezed her hand with the little strength she had. You don't need to do all this for me. Yes, I do. Elena kissed her mother's hand. I'm going to get the treatment, I promise you. Mrs. Carmen closed her eyes. I just don't want you to suffer. Elena stayed there holding her mother's hand until she fell asleep again. Then she got up, left the room, and closed the door carefully. At night, Elena didn't go to the restaurant. She didn't have the strength. She texted the manager saying she was sick. He replied with a dry, okay. She lay on the bed and stared at the ceiling. Her mind wouldn't stop. The images kept coming back. Ricardo yelling, the employees looking, the shame burning her face. And that word, thief. He called her a thief in front of everyone. Elena grabbed her cell phone, thought about calling the mansion, thought about trying to explain again. But what good would it do? Ricardo had already decided. People like her didn't deserve to be heard. She looked at old messages. There was one from Rosa, the cook, from 2 months ago. Elena, thanks for helping me with the food yesterday. You are a good person. Elena laughed humorlessly. Good person. That wasn't what Ricardo thought. The next day, Elena woke up early, even though she had nowhere to go. Her body was used to it. She made coffee, woke Mateo, took him to school, came back home and cleaned the apartment. She changed her mother, gave her the medicine, made food, and sat thinking, what now? Without the cleaner job at the mansion, she lost half her income. The restaurant alone didn't pay the bills, and the extra cleaning jobs didn't appear every weekend. How was she going to scrape together the missing $8,000? Elena took the old notebook she used to write down household bills. She did the math again. Rent, $1,000. Electricity, water, gas, $300. Food, $400. Mother's medicine, the basics, $200. Mateo's school, $150. Total, $2,250 a month. Restaurant salary, deficit, $750. She threw the notebook on the table and rubbed her face. It wouldn't work. There was no way. Elena looked at the bag where the money was. $40,000. She could use a little to cover the month's expenses. But if she did that, it would take even longer to gather what was missing. And her mother didn't have time. She grabbed her phone and joined job groups. I need work as a cleaner, she typed. She sent it to 5 different groups. Waited. No one replied. She spent the whole afternoon on her phone, sent resumes to 20 places, restaurants, stores, supermarkets, anything, any amount, she just needed to work. 2 companies replied, vacancy filled. The other 18, silence. At night, Elena went back to the restaurant. She couldn't lose that job too. She washed dishes until midnight. Her hands turned red, cracked, but she didn't stop. When she got home, Mateo was already sleeping. Her mother, too. Elena went to her room, took off her shoes, and lay on the bed without taking off her clothes. And there, alone in the dark, she allowed herself to cry. She cried softly so as not to wake anyone. She cried from anger, from exhaustion, from despair. She lost her job, lost her dignity, and now she didn't know how she was going to save her mother. Ricardo returned to the office after Elena left, closed the door, loosened his tie, and sat in the leather chair. His heart was still beating fast, rage still boiling in his chest. He looked at the table. The bills that had fallen were still there. Ricardo gathered the money with abrupt movements and threw it inside the drawer. People like that are hopeless, he muttered to himself. He grabbed his phone and started checking. Emails. Tried to concentrate on business, meetings, contracts. But the image of Elena with the money in her hands wouldn't leave his head. Her face of despair, the tears. He shook his head. No, she was stealing. She was in my office with my money. He repeated that like a mantra. He needed to, believe it. Because if it wasn't true, Ricardo got up and went to the cabinet where he kept his own money. A secret compartment behind the books. He opened it, checked. It was all there. All the bills. Nothing had been touched. He frowned. Obviously, it's all here. I arrived before she managed to, take it. But a tiny voice in the back of his mind whispered, What if she hadn't come to take anything? Ricardo closed the compartment forcefully, went back to the desk, sat down, got up, walked to the window, looked at the garden outside. The gardener was trimming the plants. The cook crossed the yard with grocery bags, everything normal, everything in its place, but something bothered him. He went back to the desk and saw the notebook. It was there forgotten, with the cover worn and pages yellowed. Ricardo looked at the door. No one was watching. He picked up the notebook with his fingertips as if it burned. Just to confirm it was a lie, he said aloud, justifying it to himself. He opened to the first page. The handwriting was tiny, neat, tight, as if every centimeter of paper was precious. Day 8. Oncologist Dr. Anna, 780. Ricardo stopped. Read it again. Oncologist. He turned the page. Day 15. Blood test, 340. Day 22. Pain medicine, box with 30 pills. Geriatric diaper, large pack, 95. He felt something cold run down his spine. He continued flipping through. February. Received restaurant advance, 400. Extra cleaning, Mrs. Sonia's house, 250. Extra cleaning, Mr. Carlos's apartment, 200. Every page was a record, every line a sacrifice. Ricardo saw the small amounts being added up. $50 here, 100 there, 200 when she was lucky. He turned more pages, found a list of public clinics. The addresses were all crossed out. Next to each one, a note. 8-month. Waiting list. No vacancy without specialist. Ricardo swallowed hard, turned another page, and saw a detailed bill. Complete treatment. Estimate. Consultations, 2,400. Exams, 8,500. Biopsies, 1,100. Medicines, 6 months, 10,200. Provisional hospitalization, 15,000. Total, 40,900. Below, in shaky handwriting. I already have 4,200. Missing 2,700. Almost there, Mom. Ricardo closed his eyes. His hand trembled. He opened it again and continued reading. There was a loose page, a kind of unsent letter. Mom, I know you don't want me to sacrifice so much, but I can't lose you. You are everything. I have. You raised me alone. You worked 3 jobs to feed me. You never complained, never gave up on me. Now it's my turn. I'm going to make it. I promise. Ricardo felt his chest tighten. He continued flipping. Found a list of household bills. Rent overdue 15 days. Electricity $140 due on the 20th. Water 78, gas 85. School supplies Mateo 60. He turned one more page, found loose notes between the sheets. Remember to ask for advance. Call Mrs. Sonia, Saturday cleaning. Save on bread, buy only 2 per week. Ricardo rubbed his face. His breathing was heavy. He turned the last page and saw the photo. It was crumpled, folded at the corners. The image showed a thin woman, bedridden, with a weak smile. Beside the bed, Elena holding a small child in her arms. The 3 were hugging. On the back of the photo, a phrase written in pen. Strength, Mom. We will win together. Ricardo dropped the notebook as if it burned. He got up quickly, walked to the window, came back, picked up the notebook again, reread everything, every page, every note, every number. The truth fell on him like a crushing weight. Elena hadn't stolen anything. She was counting her own money, the money she saved working until exhaustion, the money that was going to save her mother. And he expelled her, humiliated her, called her a thief in front of everyone. Ricardo sat in the chair and buried his face in his hands. The guilt hit like a punch. He had destroyed the life of an innocent woman, a woman who worked 2 jobs, who cared for a sick mother, who raised a son alone. He ran to the cabinet, opened the secret compartment, checked every bill, counted 3 times. Nothing had disappeared. Nothing had been touched. Everything was exactly as he had left it. Elena had never stolen anything. Ricardo sat on the floor, his back against the cabinet, the notebook in his lap, and for the first time in years, he felt shame. True shame. He thought about all the times he called her, "Hey, cleaner," all the times he complained about her work, all the times he didn't even look at her face. Elena was invisible, and he was certain of that because he himself had made her invisible. Ricardo grabbed his phone, searched for her contact. He didn't have it. He had never asked for it because he never needed to talk to the cleaner outside of work hours. He went to the door and opened it. "Rosa!" The cook appeared, drying her hands. "Yes, sir." "Do you have Elena's phone number?" Rosa hesitated. "Yes, I do." "Give it to me." "Mr. Ricardo." The woman's voice was low. "Are you sure?" "Give me the number, Rosa." She dictated it. Ricardo noted it on his phone, stared at the digits on the screen. His finger hovered over the call button. But what was he going to say? Sorry? How do you say sorry for destroying someone's life? He locked the phone. No, a phone call wouldn't solve it. He needed to see Elena in person, needed to look her in the eyes, needed to fix it. Ricardo grabbed the notebook, the crumpled photo, and put everything inside the drawer. Then he took his car keys and left the office. He needed to find Elena. He needed to do something, because now he knew the truth, and the truth hurt more than any blow. Ricardo spent the night awake. He went to bed at 11, got up at midnight. Tried to work, but couldn't concentrate. Tried to watch TV, but the images passed without meaning. His head only saw one thing: the notebook, the notes, Elena's mother's photo. At 5 a.m., he gave up on sleeping. He showered, put on simple clothes, jeans and a shirt, no suit, and left the house. He took the car and drove to Elena's neighborhood. Rosa had given him the address the night before, reluctant, but she gave it. The sun hadn't risen yet when Ricardo parked on the street. It was a completely different neighborhood from his. Old buildings, peeling facades, electrical wires hanging. Loosely, trash piled on corners, children already playing on the sidewalk even at that hour. Ricardo stayed in the car watching. He felt out of place. An imported car in a place like that attracted attention. He crouched in the seat, trying to go unnoticed. At 6:15, he saw Elena leave the building. She was holding the hand of a small boy, her son, Mateo. The two walked down the broken stairs carefully. Elena wore the same clothes as always: worn jeans, simple blouse, old sneakers, hair tied in a ponytail. Ricardo felt a squeeze in his chest. She looked even more tired than when she worked as a cleaner at the mansion. Shoulders hunched, dragging walk. Elena took her son to a building 2 streets down, knocked on the door. An older woman opened, took the boy. Elena thanked her, kissed her son's forehead, and ran off. She caught the bus at the corner. Ricardo waited. He sat there in the car, observing the street movement. People leaving for work, street vendors setting up stalls, life happening. At 10 a.m., Elena returned, walked up the building's stairs, entered the apartment. Ricardo waited another 15 minutes and got out of the car. Locked it, looked around. Some men on the corner watched him suspiciously. He crossed the street and entered the building. No doorman, no intercom, just a broken glass door and concrete stairs. Ricardo walked up slowly. The railing was rusty, walls covered in graffiti, smell of mold and dampness. On the 3rd floor, he stopped in front of apartment 304. The door was old wood with peeling paint. He raised his hand to knock but hesitated. What was he going to say? How was he going to start this conversation? Before deciding, he heard voices on the other side. A woman's voice, Elena, and a weaker, hoarse voice. "Mom, I'm going to change. Your diaper now, okay? It's going to hurt a little, but I'll be careful." "It's okay, my daughter. You are always careful." Ricardo leaned his ear against the door. He heard sounds of movement. Elena working, her mother moaning softly in pain, and Elena talking the whole time with a soft voice, trying to calm her. "There, Mom, it's done. Now I'm going to put the ointment on the wounds." "Elena, didn't you go to work today?" "I did, yes, to the restaurant. Today is a half-shift day." "And Mr. Ricardo's house?" Silence. Ricardo held his breath. "I don't work there anymore, Mom." "Why?" "It didn't work out. But everything is fine. I'll find another place." "My daughter, you are suffering because of me." "No, Mom, don't say that. You raised me alone, worked until you couldn't anymore. Now it's my turn to take care of you." Ricardo heard Elena's voice break. She was crying, trying to hide it, but crying. He stepped away from the door, went down a few steps, and sat on the railing. He rubbed his face. That was his fault. Elena had lost her job because of him, and now she couldn't pay for her mother's treatment. He stayed there for almost half an hour. When he was about to get up, to leave, he heard footsteps coming down the stairs. Elena. She had changed clothes, now wearing a white kitchen uniform, going to the restaurant. Ricardo hid on the lower flight of stairs, saw Elena pass. Her face was red from crying so much. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand and left the building. He waited a few minutes and went back to apartment 304. This time he went to the window in the hallway that looked into the interior. It was a small, old window with foggy glass, but one could see in. Ricardo looked, and what he saw made his heart tighten even more. Elena's mother was on a narrow bed, pushed against the wall. The room was tiny, barely fitting the bed, a small wardrobe, and a chair. The woman was so thin she seemed to disappear under the thin sheet, skin yellowish, eyes sunken, breathing difficult. On the floor, next to the bed, there was a basin with water, some cloths, a box of medicines, everything organized, everything clean. Elena cared for her mother with dedication. Ricardo saw a child appear. Mateo had returned, probably brought by the neighbor. The boy entered the room, climbed onto the bed carefully, and hugged his grandmother. The woman smiled weakly and stroked her grandson's hair. "Grandma, today I learned to make a paper airplane." "How beautiful, my grandson. Show me." The boy made a little plane with a sheet of notebook paper and threw it. The plane flew crookedly and fell to the floor. The two laughed. A weak, tired laugh, but sincere. Ricardo felt his eyes sting. That was Elena's life, a life of struggle, of care, of love, and he had destroyed her chance to give her mother dignified treatment. He moved away from the window, ran down the stairs, left the building, but when he was about to get into the car, someone grabbed his arm. "What's up, boss? What are you doing here?" Ricardo turned. It was a man about 40, thin, wearing mechanic clothes. The neighbor from the second floor, the guy Elena greeted every morning. I came to speak with Elena." "Elena?" The man frowned. "Who are you?" I was her boss." "Ah, that Ricardo guy." The man let go of his arm but didn't move away. "The guy who kicked her out thinking she was a thief." Ricardo swallowed hard. "How do you know?" "Here everyone knows everything. Elena cried all night. We hear through thin walls, you know." The man crossed his arms. "And now? You come here to do what? Humiliate her a little more?" "No, I came to apologize." "Apologize?" The man let out a short laugh. "Sorry doesn't pay for treatments. Sorry doesn't put food on the table." I know. Ricardo ran his hand through his hair. "I was wrong. I was very wrong. And now I want to fix it." "Fix it how?" "Giving charity. People like you think money solves everything. It's not charity. It's the minimum I can do." The man stared at him in silence, then shook his head. "Elena isn't here. She went to work, and when she returns, she'll be too exhausted to receive visitors. I'll come back tomorrow." "It's no use. She won't want to see you." "I need to try." The man sighed. "Look, boss, I don't know what you're planning, but if you come here just to clear your conscience and then disappear, it's better you don't even come back. Elena has suffered enough. Already. I won't disappear." Ricardo looked into the man's eyes. "I promise." The neighbor stared at him a while longer. Then he shrugged. "We'll see." He turned his back and entered the building. Ricardo stood there on the sidewalk. He looked at the building, at apartment 304 on the third floor. He thought about the thin woman in the bed, the boy making paper airplanes, Elena washing dishes at the restaurant until midnight. He had lived his whole life without looking to the side, without seeing the people who served him, without understanding the weight they carried, and now, for the time, he saw. Ricardo got into the car and started the engine, but didn't leave immediately. He stayed there looking at the building, thinking about what he was going to do. It wasn't enough to apologize. It wasn't enough to offer money. He needed to show Elena that he understood, that he saw, that she wasn't invisible. He grabbed his phone and made a call. "Hello, Dr. Anna. My name is Ricardo. I need to book an appointment for a patient. It's urgent. I'll pay privately whatever is necessary. When can you see her? He booked the appointment, then called a private clinic, booked the exams, everything for the following week, everything paid in advance. But he knew that wasn't enough. He had hurt Elena in a way money couldn't cure. He had taken away her dignity and now needed to find a way to give it back. Ricardo drove back home, but his mind stayed in the old building, in apartment 304, on the woman he had treated as invisible and who he now couldn't get out of his head. Ricardo spent 2 days planning, 2 days trying to find the right words, 2 days rehearsing what he was going to say, but every time he started it seemed insufficient, empty, fake. How do you say sorry for destroying someone's life? On the morning of the 3rd day, he returned to the neighborhood. This time, not in an imported car. He borrowed a simple car from the caretaker, parked far away, and walked. It was 8 a.m. Ricardo walked up the building stairs with his heart racing. In his jacket pocket, he carried Elena's notebook, the crumpled photo, and an envelope. In his backpack, documents. He stopped in front of door 304, took a deep breath, knocked. No one answered. He knocked again, harder. Footsteps on the other side. The door opened a few inches. Elena appeared in the crack. When she saw who it was, her face froze. Her eyes went wide. Her breathing stopped. Elena, She tried to close the door. Ricardo held it. Please, just listen to me. 5 minutes. Get out of here. Her voice trembled. You've done enough. I know I did, and I came to apologize. Apologize? Elena let out a bitter laugh. You humiliated me, called me a thief in front of everyone, took away my job, and now you want me to accept your apology? No. Ricardo shook his head. I don't expect you to accept nor forgive. I just came to return what is yours and try to fix it. Elena let go of the door and crossed her arms. Fix it? How? Do you think money solves it? It doesn't solve it, but it's the minimum. He took the notebook out of his pocket. You forgot this, and this. He handed over the crumpled photo. Elena took the 2 items with shaking hands, looked at her mother's photo, eyes filling with tears. I read the notebook. Ricardo continued. I read every page, every note, and I understood. You never stole anything. The money was yours, every cent yours. I tried to explain. Her voice came out choked. But you didn't want to listen. I know, I was an idiot, an imbecile. I judged you without knowing anything. Ricardo took the envelope out of his pocket. Here is $3,000. It's what is missing to complete your mother's treatment. Elena looked at the envelope but didn't take it. I don't want your charity. It isn't charity. It's the salary I should have paid you. Better from the start. It's recognition for the work you did. He extended it further. Please take it. Your mother needs it. From the back room came a weak moan. Elena's mother was calling. Elena turned, torn between continuing the conversation and going to care for her mother. Go, Ricardo said. I'll wait here. Elena hesitated, then entered the room. Ricardo stood at the door listening. Who is it, daughter? No one, Mom. Just someone from work. Are you okay? Yes, Mom. Let me give you the medicine. Ricardo heard the sounds of Elena caring for her mother, the patience in her voice, the affection, and felt the shame burn stronger. A few minutes later, Elena returned, closed the bedroom door behind her, looked at Ricardo with red eyes. What else do you want? I booked an appointment with the oncologist Dr. Anna for next week, Wednesday, 10 a.m. He took a paper out of the backpack. I booked the exams too. PET, CT, biopsy, blood tests, everything private, everything paid. Elena took the paper with trembling hands, read, reread. Why? Why are you doing this? Because I was wrong. I was wrong in a way that has no turning back. And this, he pointed to the paper, is the minimum, the absolute minimum. I can't accept it. Elena returned the paper. It isn't right. Elena, your mother is very weak. His voice came out harder than he intended. You know that. I know that. You saved $40,000 washing dishes, working until you fainted. And still it isn't enough. I will make it When? In how much time? Ricardo took a step forward. How much time does your mother have? A month? 2? Elena turned her face away. Tears were streaming down. I'm not offering this because I'm nice. Ricardo continued. I'm offering because I destroyed your chance to do this alone. I took away your job as a cleaner at the moment you needed it most, so let me fix at least this. Elena stood in silence, chest rising and falling fast. And afterwards you leave and that's it? You wiped your conscience clean. No. He took another paper out of the backpack. This? Here is a contract. Your job back, but not as a cleaner. As cleaning team coordinator. Salary of $3,000. Fixed hours, signed contract, vacation, everything legal. Elena looked at the paper as if it were an illusion. Are you serious? Completely. He extended it. And if I disrespect you again, if I treat you badly, you can leave. And I still pay an indemnity of $10,000. Elena took the paper, read slowly. Every word, every line. Why? Why do all this? Because I spent 2 days observing you. I saw you care for your mother, saw you hug your son, saw you fight alone. And I understood. I lived my whole life without seeing the people who work for me, without seeing them. You were invisible. He stopped, swallowed the lump in his throat. But you aren't invisible, Elena. You are the strongest person I have ever met, and I was blind. A blind idiot who judged without knowing. Elena pressed the paper against her chest. Tears fell endlessly. You humiliated me in front of everyone. You called me a thief. I know, and nothing I do will erase that. Nothing. Ricardo took a step back. But if you give me a chance, a single chance, I promise I will never disrespect you again. I will never treat you as if you were nobody again. Mateo appeared in the hallway, rubbing his eyes. Mom, who is it? Elena turned quickly, wiped her tears. No one, my love, go back to the room. But I want to know. Mateo, obey. Her voice was firm but gentle. The boy went back to the room, grumbling. Elena turned to Ricardo, looked at him for a long time. If I accept this, it isn't forgiveness. I want you to understand this very well. It isn't forgiveness. I know. It's necessity. My mother needs it. My son needs it. I need it. She took a deep breath. But if you disrespect me again, if you treat me badly a single time, I leave, and you never find me again. You can be sure. I accept all conditions. Elena looked at the envelope in his hand, hesitated, then took it, opened it, counted the money. $3,000. She closed her eyes, pressed the envelope against her chest. Thank you, she whispered. For the appointment, for the exams, for the job. No need to thank me. Yes, I do. Elena looked into his eyes. But thank you doesn't mean forgiveness. It means I'm going to accept your help. Just that. Understood. She put the envelope in her pocket. When do I start? Next week, after your mother's exams. Then we organize schedule, team, everything. Elena nodded. They stood there at the apartment door, a heavy silence between them. Elena, Ricardo started. I really am very sorry, I know. She looked at the floor. But I am very sorry doesn't erase what happened. Doesn't erase the humiliation, the pain, the fear I felt. I know. Then don't expect me to be your friend or trust you, because I won't. Not anytime soon. I don't expect it. He took a step back. I just hope to show that I have changed with time and work. Elena nodded. We'll see. Ricardo turned to leave but stopped. Elena. What? You are the bravest person I have ever met, and I should have seen that from the first day. Elena didn't answer, just closed the door slowly. Ricardo stood there in the hallway, listening to her footsteps moving away. Then he went down the stairs. Outside, the sun was strong, the street full of people. Ricardo looked up at apartment 304, saw the curtain move. Elena was watching. He waved. She didn't reply. Just let the curtain fall back. Ricardo walked to the car, got in, started the engine, but didn't leave immediately. He sat there, thinking. He had given the money, offered the job, booked the exams, But he knew none of that erased what he had done. Making amends wasn't a one-time thing. It was a long, difficult, painful process. And maybe, just maybe, Elena would one day be able to look at him without feeling anger, without feeling pain. But until then, he was going to work, was going to show, was going to prove, because now he understood. People are not invisible. They were always there. He was the one who was blind. And this was the first time he truly saw. If this story touched you and you believe everyone deserves respect, leave a like and share this video. Subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories. See you in the next video.